Hi, everybody. Welcome to Queers and Soaps. I'm Tommy, and today I'm joined by Gregory and Dayna.
Good morning.
Sure.
Well, like good evening.
We're back with our My So-Called Life discussion. Today we're discussing episodes 14 and 15. So I'll roll the credits and we'll get right into it. So episode 14 is titled On the Wagon. And it's a Rayanne-centric episode. Yeah. Sort of. Apparently Rayanne has been sober for 33 days. Which is a big deal.
It is. That's a huge deal. Like, she's so young. It's freaking crazy, but it is. It's a huge deal. Mm-hmm.
Apparently, her seeing a counselor was only mandated for the first month, and now it's up to her if she wants to continue, and of course she doesn't.
Mm-hmm. She's better now. She's fine.
But yeah.
Good, it's over. She graduated sobriety. Yeah. She passed sobriety. Yes. You know? Like a class.
Jordan's band, what are they called? The Frozen Embryos.
It was I like that. That was kind of a good name for a
Apparently Tino threw a temper tantrum and he quit.
No. Once again, we don't see Tino.
No.
And remember when we were unclear on if Angela and Jordan broke up? We felt like they were breaking up, but then like he kissed her and was like, see you tomorrow. And I'm like, so we're not broken up?
Yeah.
But they're like hanging out even though they're broken up. And he still uses her locker.
Well, because he knows her combination. That was always like the biggest problem back in the day. You gave your combination to everybody.
Yeah.
What was she saying? I think it was by the locker though, where he was like trying to express like what he was thinking or feeling, and she was like, tell me you want me, tell me you love me, and you can't live without me. And I was just like, oh my god.
Jesus. It's cringe.
Classic Angela is all I'm gonna say. That is just like the the barrier, I guess. That's the bar she lives up to every time. It's just like not listening to what he's saying when he's actually trying to express himself, but like filling it in with her own narrative of what she was wishing was gonna happen. Classic Angela.
And then later on he was like, I just feel so like frustrated. Do you know what that feels like to like always trying to wonder what somebody's feeling and thinking? And she's just like
she's like, why do you think I changed the hair color?
She's like, no, that sounds awful. I can imagine
not like at all.
You know, I will say, without divulging too much into it, I really like this episode. So I was like, oh, that's right. There it is.
Oh,
not that I haven't. No. Not that I haven't liked all the other episodes. I just feel like each of the characters are finding their way in the script.
I like that we're not forgetting major plots and that it's actually like character developing, like a through line.
Yeah, they don't just like drop, like the whole Brienne's drinking has been slowly fed to us little bit by little bit throughout the entire season. Like just little, like if you weren't paying attention and the episode like where she almost dies, like comes and you're like, where did it come from? You weren't paying attention kind of thing. Because they really did give like you little bits of crumbs all the way throughout and the crescendo at that moment. And now we're kind of getting like an update, kind of like she's just not better, you know what I mean? Like it's like, you know what I mean, no matter how much she says it.
Apparently Angela's kind of been distant since everything went down, but also because she's been spending all her time with Jordan.
Of course.
Yeah. But also, you know, definitely you have to say something about the fact that, you know, her friend almost died. So like that's kind of heavy on her. And when you're self-centered, and then all of a sudden something happens to somebody else, you don't know what to do with those feelings.
Right, because she's she's still talking to Ricky because Ricky knows everything that's going on, and he's like relaying it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like she kind of did this thing with Sharon, when her dad was going through some crazy mess.
Yeah.
She wasn't 100% sure where her place was in like supporting her or what was right for her to do because she knows she was being an ass literally leading up to this point. So like, did I have a right to really console her as a friend?
Yeah.
Like when it comes to Rayanne, avoidance is key, I guess. Maybe like that I don't know. Like to me, it felt very much like too because she's like obsessed with herself and she wants, to be with Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what girls do when they're obsessed with their significant other. It's a shame, but they forego literally all of their friends to spend the entirety of their lives with their significant other. And then once they break up, then they come surfacing back, and it happens all the time. So it's like I just leaned into the surface of it myself. I was like, of course, this is Angela being grade A, horrible, like always.
I did feel like her narrations are getting shorter. They're not as frequent. And in the Christmas one after this, I don't think she narrated at all.
Yeah.
So maybe
I was over it.
Maybe they were trying to stray away from that slowly.
Yeah. I'm good. I can read it.
Although it's kind of part of the cringe of the show because like what she's thinking.
Yeah. I mean like yeah. To me it was one of those situations where it's like I didn't miss it at all. Mm-hmm. But there was a part of it that made you like feel something, and that is a part of a successful writing of a show. Yeah. No matter like whether it's negative feelings, you're like at least feeling something very overwhelmingly as you listen to this girl tell you her inner thoughts, and you're like, oh.
Well, even her just being like, tell me you love me, tell me you can't live without me, you can't breathe without me. That felt like we were regressing back to like the pilot.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why like the avoidance of Rayanne felt very natural because if she's still really pining over Jordan, I kind of thought they were still kind of together. I wasn't really I thought like parents got it wrong or she lied about them not being together, or she just doesn't understand what's going on. It's kind of like I was just like, oh, it's just that weird situationship. Like
he was like driving her to school.
That's what I mean. Like they're spending a lot of time together for not being together. Like it's like all the scenes I felt like Angela had in this episode were accompanied by Jordan or Rayanne or like some, there was never like alone moments with Angela and her inner thoughts, like you were saying, like at all whatsoever, except for like that one.
I guess it's good that they weren't kissing to further confuse the situation. They're just hanging out, so to speak. Yeah. So Angela invites Rayanne over for dinner, and Rayanne tries to play it cool, like, oh, I don't know, I might not show, I might, like, we'll see. And so Angela takes that as like a hard no, so she spends more time with Jordan. But Rayanne ends up going to her house. And I was like, oh my God, she's so happy. She gets to have the father's cooking. She loves the father's cooking.
Yeah.
And then there was like a bottle of liquor on the counter. I don't know if he was using it to cook, because it was just weird that it was just placed on the counter.
Really? I thought that was a bar. When I first looked up to see it, I thought it was like a bar that they actually had where alcohol was in the house. Because,
no,
they used to have
the scene where the father's cooking?
Yeah, in the kitchen. We're sitting at the island playing with the egg yolk.
I didn't notice that.
Oh, right. Got it.
Because when the mom came home, she was like, hi. Yeah, when the mom came home, she was like, hi, where's Angela? And they were like having a little interaction. And then the mom looked at the bottle and she just like picked it up and put it back on the shelf.
I wouldn't even see that.
Oh, right. I was thinking of a different scene at first, but okay. Yeah.
I know what you were talking about.
Patty, my girl Patty, she's doing her classic overstepping thing this whole episode. She's stepping right in it. Every chance she gets, just walking right into it. Oh, my girl, I can't.
Rayanne ends up leaving after she like sees like a whole little family moment of them tasting the chocolate with Danielle. I was like, oh, they're actually paying attention to Danielle. And
I like how there is this like beautiful like for we don't really see that beautiful family moment, but there was that beautiful family moment, slightly emphasized for the storyline of Rianne to see what, like, you know, a normal family is. And she's like, I gotta go. My mom's cooking dinner.
Cut to Rayanne's apartment. Her mom's making a margarita. I literally was like, seriously?
Yeah.
In front of your
Yeah.
alcoholic daughter, you're doing this? Read the room.
Of course. She has another really great line that makes you kind of like it. There's something about Rianne's mom that like where she really teeters like on bad mom and like very just aware, maybe more a realist of a parent than so much a like Patty.
Yeah.
Patty is like your quintessential regular 90s mom that would be hyperly over aware of everything you're doing or super anxiety ridden about what's going on. Like I think you give a little more credit to Patty, but that she kind of
Her name's
gives
Amber.
a role. And Amber is like it's like she knows what's like she calls out like Patty like in situations where she's like you're in the like trying to tell her like you basically know better than I am in trying to figure this out. But she's also an obvious alcoholic. Like
yes,
you know, there's like these moments where it's like, oh, Amber's telling truths, but she's not responsible like at all.
Well, Rayanne's like, I'm hungry. Like, are you not cooking dinner? And she's like, oh, she's like, you didn't eat today? She's like, I had not since breakfast. And she's like, well, you didn't have lunch? And then she's like, looking in the freezer and she's like, pop stickers, like frozen foods. And Rayanne's like, can we not have appetizers? Can we actually have a real dinner, like a real family? And then she like gets excited because she found leftover Chinese food. And my brain went to how old is that Chinese food that you don't remember that you had it? And when she fed Rayanne that shrimp, I'm like, she's gonna have a stomach ache.
Yeah. Oh my god. Oh.
So rewinding a little bit, after Rayanne left the Chase residence, Patty said to the dad, you know, I never got to thank you for like saving her life. So put a pin in that because we circle back to that later.
I know, but this is just like another case where it's like, Patty, girl, like, cool it. Can we take a breath? Like before we jump off like the anxiety train. Like it's the starting, you know, when they build things up in their mind that like it just starts to topple on top on top on top.
Right.
Ugh.
So Rayanne finds out from Angela about Tino. And so now Rayanne gets it in her head. I'm a great singer. I should be in the band. I'll be the lead singer. Mention it to Jordan because he won't do it unless you mention it to him. So she doesn't want to, but she does. And he kind of like is like, what? But then it looks like he's thinking about it. And she's like, forget it. Forget I ever mentioned it. And Ricky knows that she asked him, but Rayanne doesn't. Like, she's still talking to Ricky knows everything. But it's like she's, like we said earlier, she's avoiding Rayanne.
Yeah, and Rianne's noticed.
Yeah.
Like one of the interactions with her mom in the apartment was basically talk about how her and Angela haven't really, you know, hang out. And then her mom gives her advice on how to like, well, hang out with her and be where they are.
Yeah.
And she just and they're like in their car and she just rolls in. Like, hey, how you guys doing? Like, real awkward, like
Jordan just like out and he's like, can you both get out? Like he's so rude.
Yeah, for real. For real. It was really funny. That was a really funny moment. And it was you could feel Angela's like this. Like she kind of tenses up when Rand's in the same room. It's like having her worlds truly collide. Like everything she's ever said to Rianne could potentially be exposed in front of Jordan, like right now. And you could feel the like tension in her body every time like they were all in the same room together.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty fucking hilarious. Watch Angela squirm a lot in this episode.
We had our now annual bathroom scene with Sharon and Rayanne.
Oh, they coming for each other. These both episodes, her and Rayanne were just like zingers, right at each other, left and right, toe to toe, like rivals, like meeting their true rivals in the battlefield, like just.
Like Rayanne's singing in the stall, and she comes out, and Sharon's like, "That was you?" And she was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Why are you listening?" And she's like, "I'm sorry, I wasn't aware this was your personal
Sound booth.
sound studio." And she's like, "Well, it is." But then they have like their real moment where they put all the bullshit aside. And she's like, "So let's say you had this friend who knew somebody that had a band." She's like,
Person like me wants to sing in it.
she's like, "Are you talking about you?" And she's like, "But you're talking about Angela, right?" Like she's like putting all the pieces together.
Sharon just, I swear to God, she just brings it right back to earth. Like she doesn't play games. She's just like right to. I don't got time. Let's just get to the brass.
She's like, "Why
I
do I have
love
to
it.
like do a puzzle? Just tell me what you're talking about."
No metaphors. Who are we talking about? We're
Yeah.
talking about you. We're talking about Angela, and we're talking about Jordan, right?
Because of Rayanne's mom's advice, she just shows up at the rehearsal for the band. And all the band members are bickering, which is probably what led to Tino leaving also.
This is why Dayna left.
And
they're fighting about the dumbest stuff too. Like, you don't know what in tune is.
and
You don't know.
Jordan's like annoyed that she's there, and she's like flirting with the drummer, and she's like making out with him. There's beers, which I thought I saw a beer in Rayanne's hand when they were on the hammock making out. But she says she didn't drink. And I'm like, are you sure? Were you lying? So Jordan actually calls Angela at home. And Angela's so like, "This is the first time you've ever called me at home." Like she's like, "You're missing the point, Angela. Rayanne is at the rehearsal." She's like, "Well, you like never called me before. This is like the first time."
See, like all this stuff, like this, the tensing up, the reaction about the call, it makes me feel like really like Angela was not like clocking what was going on Rianne other than like just that she's in recovery or whatever. Like
And
it's like
this is the scene where Danielle answered the phone first, I believe. And then Patty answered the phone and she's listening. And the dad catches her and he's like, "Patricia." So the mom hears that there's beers at this rehearsal and Rayanne's there. So in her mind, Rayanne's off the wagon. She's
yep, that's the thing. She just like took that break. She like stood at the end like a diver on a platform of crazy precipice of overreaction and just decided to take a full-blown 10 out of 10 dive off the cliff over into overreactionville, where we are going to insert ourselves into everybody's lives under the insane assumptions that you don't have any sort of real evidence for whatsoever because you're crazy.
So she's doing the whole, pillow talk with the husband, Graham. Put the light on because you have to say something, put it off.
I'm not awake, I'm not up, now I'm up.
Yeah, you're right, we shouldn't. And she's like, "But should we?" And he's like, "You can't.
It's like
he's like,
"Oh my god."
He's like, "How would you feel if somebody did that to you?" And she's like, "What'd she say? Poisonous dart?"
Poison. Poison. That's what I mean. Like she didn't want his real like opinion. She just wanted a rubber stamp that what she was thinking was exactly the right thing to do. I just need someone else's outside confirmation to get me to do this, even though nothing you would have said, even if like just shy of "you're right," is like gonna stop her anyway.
Yeah,
she was going to do what she was gonna do.
The next morning, first thing, she calls Amber, who's clearly not a morning person, still in bed.
That I have a very funny feeling that was the beginning of a business hour. That wasn't morning. That was an adult, it's business, you should be at work kind of hour.
I was gonna say it's probably like noon or 11 or something like that. It's gotta be like some time that like it would be a lunch hour maybe or something.
So something I
Anyway,
noticed, Amber grabbed a bottle, and I
That
was
was
like,
Coke.
Yeah, at first I was like, did she just grab a bottle of beer first thing in the morning? But then when they got back, like they showed her side, I was like, I think that might be Coke.
Okay, I think
Like
that was a
soda.
Coca-Cola.
But it wouldn't surprise me if it was a beer. Miss Margarita.
Right.
So Patty's playing, coy and just like, oh, how's Angela doing? Oh, 33 days. That's really impressive. Like, just kind of beating around the bush. And Amber catches on real quick to what she's doing.
Amber's been judged before.
Yeah. I mean, in some ways, so. Like, Patty's not in a realm of wrong. She's wrong-ish. Right. You know what I mean? Like, her timing is not on point right now.
So when Amber's pretty much like, you kind of crossing a boundary here, Patty's like, oh, I think my other phone's ringing. She's like, oh, what a coincidence, so is mine. And the takeaway from this later with Patty and Graham is, there's no way she has another phone line. He's like, we don't have another phone line.
I love how Patty took offense to Amber lying about a second phone line when that was her excuse. Essentially, it's like, come on. Like, overstepping. Like, literally, that's her MO. This whole episode is just like fucking into it. But at the same time, her instincts aren't wrong. Like, she's got like her mom sense, her spidey sense or something that's going off about Rayanne. Because there was not really until like later things that happen. I feel like personally, I think the scene you're talking about when they're in the hammock, I don't recall seeing anything in her hand, but I don't think anything is going on. I think Rayanne's still sober up until this point.
Then maybe it wasn't her holding it. Maybe it was the drummer there was a beer.
I can really go back and see if there's any.
A drummer might have been drinking.
Yeah,
because I don't think she drank.
Yeah, we didn't see her drink. I saw a beer, and I was like, is she? And I was on Patty's level. I was like, she's drinking. She's drunk. At
the same time, like, I think the way they filmed it, the editing and all that is kind of leading you to believe that her connection with this guy is also not a good sign.
Yeah,
like, if she's getting set up with the guy, there's a chance that she's going to be around it a lot more often. And then, mixed with other things that she's like doing and trying to pursue that, require a lot of confidence.
So I guess her hooking up with this drummer got her in the band, because the next day at school, Angela's trying to apologize to Jordan, like, sorry, I didn't know she was gonna do that. I'm sorry she annoyed you. He's like, she's in the band. He's like, I'm against it, but he's like, everybody else wanted her, so he's officially in the band.
I don't know why Jordan doesn't like it, though.
I thought the best part of it, which was just so funny, is when she's practicing, like they're going and she's got some really good moves going and she hits the microphone spins around
and they keep going and she never sings.
And so like she starts to sing, she's singing, but the microphone's not on.
Yeah.
And then she does it again and then they break up and you never hear her sing.
No. You only hear her in an a cappella type state, like here and there throughout the episode, like without any sort of backing or like legitimate like production or whatever behind it. But I love the way she kind of is trying to get her body into it, like the way she's like dancing, like she's just kind of doing like she's just like standing there, like I'm just.
And then she misses it. And then misses it.
If I just put my body into the mode, I'm just gonna, and then just nothing.
Come back around next time. I'll get it.
All right.
So now she's almost manic. She's just like she's more She's twitchy like when she's drinking, and she makes me anxious when she's like that. She's just very like all over the place.
I mean, that's a good point. To be fair, that might be like when she finally makes the connection with the guy, that maybe that's what happened. She can't fall off the wagon.
Maybe, but I like when she was excited about being in the band. I was like, it's almost manic. I was like, it's almost as if she's bipolar. Like this is her high, and then when she has a meltdown, that's like her low. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't think we have the time to explore bipolar in 1994
Well,
with 3
we're not
episodes left.
professionals. Yeah,
So
but it
we'll
was
just
a
stick
good
with
point.
alcoholic. So she goes to Angela and she helps her get ready, and she's like, you should come. And Angela's like I definitely want to, like, I'm gonna try, but she's not going. And this feeds into Patty's whole she never tells me anything. She literally sits down and like info dumps everything on Patty.
Oh, and Patty's like,
yeah, and then she hugs her, and then Greb's like, don't worry, she'll hate you for like a month and to make up for all this before she tells you anything again. She's like, I know.
Literally. Like it feels so real, like that statement.
She literally just like told her everything that's going on. Like, I feel like to be feeling distant from Rayanne, the Jordan thing. And then she just gets up and she's like, all right, well, I'm going to bed. And she like hugs her.
she like totally like lets it all out. She feels better as usual in her selfish way. She's like, ah.
Right.
And Patty's just like,
yeah.
She's like taking it all
Right.
in.
And that does not. I'll tell you what. All that information, even though Patty's like super happy that she connected with her daughter, but in her mind, she's like, the things that are going on in her life, the friends that she had, Brienne's dying. Like, you know what I mean? Like, all of that stuff is just
It's
on
a lot.
loop.
And let's put it where it's at. You have a teenager that almost died from a drug and alcohol poisoning, and that's scary for a parent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
you were there.
Yeah. So at the, I think it's a coffee house that they're having like an open mic night at. Rayanne doesn't even know what song they're singing. Oh, that was the scene that you were talking about. So when she was like Angela, she's like, I know what song I'm singing. Oh my god! And she like goes up at the bar in the dining room, and pours a drink, and Angela's like not even like trying to pull it away. She's just like, "Are you really doing this right now?" Like, very like hands off. And she's just like, "Gotcha," and she pours it back in the bottle.
Yeah.
But leaves the glass there. So later, Patty sees the glass, smells it. There was liquor in there at some point. She knows Rayanne was over, so she's like, Rayanne's off the wagon, she's drunk.
It's official. I can't ignore all of the very obvious signs that this child needs help.
So at the actual coffee house, Angela doesn't go. Ricky's there. Brian goes.
And Angela really struggled. Like there was a brief moment in her head where she struggled, where she didn't want to go and she didn't know why she didn't want to go, but she should go and she knew she should be obligated to go. But I think she just recognized that their relationship changed, or is it not a crossroad, but it was status quo up until this point.
Yeah.
And it's different, not changed, a little different.
It is. It's different. And a part of me feels like maybe Angela is kind of like, this is too much. Like, this is too much. Like, this is more than I feel like I may have signed up for.
Right.
And she wants to like, slowly fade away. And that's not really, and without any blame, of course. And the classic Angela move is to like run away, like drop.
Fast forward, Rayanne and Sharon are best friends now, and Angela doesn't have friends.
Right? Literally. Because they're the ones that Angela has forsaken. And then Brian.
Poor Brian.
So they go on, and she's doing her whole like trying to catch the beat. And then I kept saying to him, I was like, is she in her head or is she having like stage fright? He's like, I think it's a little bit of both. Like, because I feel like she was feeling so much, she was forgetting to sing. Like, she was like in her head. But then I feel like she also had stage fright. And when she saw the people kind of being like, what's going on here, and getting up to leave, I think that finally kicked her into singing, but she was already off
beat.
and it was just
Mhm.
bad, and she freaked out and ran off the stage. Ricky ran after her, and she was like, "You all knew that I was gonna make a fool of myself because that's all I ever do is make a fool of myself." Like this is the low that I'm talking about. She was high and now she's low.
Yeah.
And some of that is rooted in the fact that Angela's not there, her best friend, so to speak.
Mhm.
Um, and she runs off, and Brian's like, "It'll be okay," and he's like, "No, it won't. Like, you don't understand." So Ricky calls Angela I guess, and he's crying and emotional. He doesn't know where she is, and Patty picks up the phone,
Mhm.
and I don't know if did they go looking for her, or do they just calm Ricky down? Because I feel like Patty shows up the next morning to talk to Amber about Renee
Yes.
missing
The
so to
next
speak.
morning.
Right.
Yeah.
I think Patty probably does like talk Ricky down in some way to like from freaking completely out, saying like we'll figure this out. Like, the only thing we can do now is like wait and find out. I will be going to her apartment first thing, you know what I mean, in the morning, blah blah blah.
Right.
And that's what happens. That she basically just like walks right down there the minute like maybe it was like a semi reasonable hour and be like bang bang bang, like you need to find your daughter. Do you know where your daughter is?
I
Kind of
like when
thing.
she's like, "Hi, Trisha Chase," and she's like, "I know who you are. You don't have to introduce yourself every time we meet." Like,
Right. Like it's that classic, like I'm on a mission. It feels so weird because I feel so connected to Patty because I feel like this is exactly how I would be. Like unhinged. Completely unhinged in like my certainty because my anxiety creates it so, and then being full face like a brick wall, walking into a brick wall of like actual facts. Like, you know what I mean? Not the crazy wackadoo Deluluville that I'm living in for like however many days that I've built up this situation in my mind to be true. I think, also that there's probably some truth in it.
do either of you
Brandon,
remember? Do either of you remember what Amber said that they're in? That means that they're like connected by the group of people that are following her around.
Grace or something like that, or crevice or
Something with a
something
C.
with a C.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like a group of people who are involved with each other's lives or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. And Rayanne's there and she's fine.
Yeah.
And Amber's
They
like,
look tired.
Amber's like, "I'm a good mom. Like, say what you will about me, but I'm a good mom." And she's like, "So you could stay home today, baby. You don't have to go to school."
I'm a good mom. Stay home.
And Rayanne's like, "I kind of want to go to school because that's where like her social life is. Like,
Yeah.
her friends are gonna be there."
Yeah.
So like, and then Patty appeases them by trying to smooth things over, but like, I'll drive her into school.
Yeah.
So she drives her into school,
and she says thank you. So Patty gets the thank you, and she says, "For what?" And she says, "For my life." So she got the thank you she mentioned she never got at the beginning of the episode. So
she also said that she wanted to prove to her that she was gonna be a good friend.
Yeah.
Like that she was still worthy of being Angela's friend, which I thought was like,
yeah. And she said, "I guess that's the one thing we have in common is that we both care about Angela." And then she says, "I guess that means we're in or does Patty say, I guess that means we're in
a coven or whatever. I don't want to sound a coven.
Coven is just as good as any other word, to be fair.
Really is. And then she's like, "Well, since we're in this," she's like, "Call me Patty." And then she like closes the door and she does the ringing twitchy thing where she immediately swings it open and it's just like, "Hey, Patty." And I thought she was gonna be like, "Can I come over for dinner tonight?"
Yeah. Oh my god. It's wild. See, this is what I'm saying. Like these moments, like the moments where she comes to her apartment and the Rand's there, she's perfectly fine, safe, and everything. Like it makes me go, like, okay, maybe she's still sober.
Mm-hmm.
And like there's just that, but at the same time, after the moment and then the moments afterwards, you then obviously question it like hard. Like, oh, where did it go wrong? Where did the breakdown happen? Is all I want to know. I don't think you're meant to know. That's all I'm saying.
So then Rayanne thinks everything's all hunky-dory and normal, and she sees Ricky, and he's like, do not touch me. Like, don't talk to me. He's like, I was planning your funeral last night. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, wow, when Ricky's done with you, you know you fucked up.
I don't blame him. I don't
He did,
blame him.
he did get a little rough with her, like physically, like pushing her. I was like, I didn't really like that much, but
No. But he was very upset. Like, that's the thing that, like, Rand never fully appreciates is how she affects people with her behavior. She
yeah,
thinks that just no one notices because for the most of the time they don't, right? Like, the only reason why half the time she does what she does is to get a reaction out of most people for anything. And when they don't react, which is what he expects, she ups the ante. And with Ricky, it's kind of like he has also just rubber stamped her behavior, has only done what he could as a friend, and she ignored, and this is like his breaking point. Like,
yeah.
so I get it. I totally get his anger. It makes total sense. Yeah.
So Rayanne is like hanging out on like a fire escape, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And Angela comes out, and because she heard what happened with Ricky, and they
Mm-hmm.
kind of like have a clarifying moment without really clarifying anything of the difference in their friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And in Angela's inner monologue, she says, we said it was like okay, nothing had changed, but we both knew that it had.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's when she says out loud that she knows that she should have been there and she messed up, and they cry and they hug. And now I guess Ricky's cool off because he climbs through the window and he hugs her, and the threesome's back together.
Yeah.
Then they go out
I
for
don't know.
movie night, I guess.
Yeah.
And they mentioned Sesame Street, which I feel like I remember seeing was on TV, maybe at Rayanne's house, since she said she still watches it.
Mm-hmm.
And she starts singing in a cappella the Sesame Street
In this bluesy,
song.
like stripper club kind of
putting on a show for everybody online for the movie.
Very, yeah.
She gets a round of applause. One of the people in line has a beer, and she grabs the beer, and it's a very dramatic 90s slow motion moment.
Very slow motion.
Takes a swig as you see Ricky and Angela both giving the look. And I'm like, well, she's off the wagon officially.
But that's what I mean. Like, when did it actually happen? Because there's no way, like, that was the first one.
Right.
It didn't feel like it was the first one. Not to me, anyway. So, like, I am kind of really torn as to, like, when it could have occurred. Like, when did she really fall off the wagon? Was it with her mom after the whole thing on the stage? Was it with the drummer? I don't think it was any time before that, personally, but
I mean, if your mom is still making margaritas, you're going to tell me that there's not margaritas there, that you're going to take a little sip of it?
yeah, it's possible. Right.
But
like, at the same
time, sober for 33 days?
I hope
well, that's exactly, that was literally what I was going to say. For all we know, she may have been not over this entire time, and she was just getting way better at hiding it. Like,
Right. So that was the end of that episode. That was a good episode.
That was.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't mention when she ran off the stage, Jordan ended up singing. And I was like, of course, because Jared Leto can sing. He's in a real band in real life.
Right. Literally. Also, apparently, doesn't Danielle have a boyfriend?
A boyfriend, not boyfriend?
That happened this episode?
Like, they broke up?
Oh, Roger or something like that. That
Ryan.
They're broken up, but they're like, Ryan. Yeah, that like when I think it was when Jordan called, she's like, "Well, I'm supposed to be getting a phone call from my boyfriend or whatever," and I'm like, "What?"
So this one is So-Called Angels.
Okay. So we're now just getting to Christmas. The season's almost over. It has all been fall this whole season.
That's crazy.
We're still in 94. 15 episodes in.
So much stuff has happened.
Let's say school started in September, October, November, December. This has all happened in 4 months. Teenagers' lives are crazy.
They are though. Like, yeah.
It goes back to
Good.
what you said last time about like relationships. Like if you made it to the month mark, it was like, oh my god, you guys have been together so long. Because a month.
Yeah, you were like old couple. Legit. That's what I'm saying. Like teenage lives, it felt like every single day was like a month or a week, and every week was a month, and every month was a year. You know, like everything happened so quickly, and you move. The attention span was like pop, pop, pop.
So this episode opens without the theme song. We just get the title card, and it opens with snow, and we see Ricky fall onto the snow with his face all bloodied up
and bleeding out of his mouth.
Yeah. Remember when I said I think I know something about Ricky? It was this episode, because I think this episode was either nominated or won some awards, so it was kind of like in pop culture, so I was aware of it, like the homelessness episode. When we saw the girl playing the guitar and noticing Ricky, I was hoping we weren't going to go where we were going, but I had a feeling.
I was thinking about this whole episode. I was like, Tommy's gonna fucking hate this.
I do give a little bit of grace. I do give a little bit of grace when it's a Christmas themed episode, because Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, they did kind of like retroactively. Now I'm thinking about the episode a little more. They kind of did give you a little hints that like what was happening a little bit with stuff in the background. You know, like they were playing. I think it was the one famous Christmas song where he sees what his life was like without him. Situation, like it was those magical Christmas movies where like there's ghosts, like, you know, Christmas Carol and all that stuff like that, you know. And it's just kind of like, oh, maybe they were talking about church a lot, you know. You bring God into it, like
Patty and Grandma are in full-on Christmas mode. They're like, we gotta decorate, we gotta go Christmas shopping. Oh my god, we got a Christmas card from this family that we haven't seen in years. Now it's gonna look like we sent them one because they sent us one. Like full-on Christmas mode. Brian's Jewish. His family's on like a cruise, or they're out of state, and he's home alone. Sharon's committed to so many different things, but specifically like a helpline for teens. Brian originally signed up, and he doesn't want to do it anymore because he's kind of depressed and lonely because his parents are gone. And he's just like, unsign me up. So the one person she thought she could count on is not volunteering. And while we get one of our Rayanne and Sharon scenes in the bathroom where she's venting to Rayanne about all of this. And Rayanne's not saying anything. She's like, wow, you're a really good listener. And she ropes Rayanne into like coming to the hotline.
Wait, do you have plans? Do you have plans today? Yeah. Oh, you're free? Crazy! Just scooped her right out. Just got her all.
I think in the beginning of the scene, she had like a pin, and she's like, oh, I broke my Santa pin or something. And Rayanne was like, I'm not even touching that one. It's too easy. But these guys are friends. They will never admit it. Oh, and then earlier when she was passing out flyers for the hotline, her and Rayanne had a little, back and forth. I don't remember what was said, but Rayanne's response was to knock all the flyers onto the ground.
You know what we call this? We call this frenemies. It's where like you have interactions, but like you don't hate each other, but you like to fuck with each other, kind of thing. Like it's one of those things.
So Ricky shows up to school all bruised. He says he fell. Rayanne doesn't really go into specifics, but she's like, he gets hit sometimes to Angela.
And they
pushed
still
around.
So we still don't know what really happened to him. Like we don't know yet. We don't know if it's family abuse. We don't know if it is, because as Pam says, he wears makeup, or no, as the dad says, do you have a problem with him because he wears makeup? Like, what? We don't know yet why he's being hit. And apparently, this isn't the first time.
Right. And Rayanne doesn't really clear it up either. She kind of just says he gets beat up sometimes. Sometimes he shows up beat up. That's what she says. And I didn't really appreciate the way Ryan like talked about it. She kind of just says, she just like let it go. Don't do anything about it. And then you're like, for real, you're gonna let your friend get beat up regularly, and you're gonna at least try to do something about it.
Right.
She didn't even imply like she ever did, like that she just accepted.
Oh, I
that this is
tried,
what
you
happened.
know, right, exactly. She didn't even, there wasn't even an excuse that I tried to fix this and I tried to stick up for him, but
Right.
you know.
I tried to talk to him about it. He's not ready. Don't, you know what I mean? Like, it was never that. It was more like, I don't bring it up, he doesn't bring it up, and we don't talk about it.
So
And I
Angela
was like, ew.
Angela hears somebody singing in, I guess, the band room.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes in, and it's the little girl that we saw playing at the beginning of the episode.
Correct.
Angela notices she has holes in her shoes. She says when she was in school, she never wanted to be, or she cut a lot, I guess. And she's like, and now that I'm not, I'm always here. So I'm like, okay, whatever. She leaves, and Angela runs out after her, and she's just like gone. And I was like, I feel like they're doing what I don't want them to do, but I'm just, it's Christmas. So it was at that point that I decided to go on IMDb and see if she was a real singer, because I'm like, she has a nice voice. I wonder if she's actually like a famous singer. It was nobody that I recognized, and I couldn't tell you her name now off the top of my head. But it said the character's name was Angel, and I went, I was like, oh, of course it is. But
Every time they hinting at it, I was like, oh, Tom, I could feel Tommy like just getting more and more upset with the episode as it goes on. And then it's like, and then they talk about church, and I'm like, oh, just go.
Well, so when she got away, I was like, okay, maybe she's just really fast. I was trying to like rationalize it.
Really fast. Oh my god, that's so funny.
You know, this really was definitely of the times where we were talking about the missing children and children that ran away and homelessness and specifically talking about, you know, I remember the campaigns on being a homeless child or a runaway child kind of deal, or a lost child around that time. Like, it kind of was a really big deal because it was a big problem. Not that it's not today, but nobody talked about it. And these were the venues.
Right.
Was that
the milk carton kids like that?
Yes,
you know what
exactly.
I mean? Like,
correct.
That was literally a huge,
Was that like the hot, like political hot button issue that everybody was like talking about?
It was the hot topic of the moment, because here we are, you know, what kid would ever run away, and children were kind of running away and were being kidnapped.
Well, there was a lot of, so like during this time, there was also coming out of like the huge AIDS epidemic and stuff, and like people were getting really, like, people were dying of drug overdoses and stuff. Like there was a lot of stuff happening. Like
the designer drug thing was happening. Yes.
So like it was probably a combination of a lot of things, and kids tend to fall through the cracks, especially like, you know, marginalized groups. Like they just don't get searched for, and it becomes really, really sad. And I think that kind of brought to the surface. You know, this time.
So Rayanne mentions that sometimes he stays with his cousin when the stuff happens. Apparently he went to Rayanne's, then he ended up at Brian's, and then he shows up at Angela's. He actually startles her because he's like in her backyard. She brings him in because it's snowing and it's cold. And she kind of wants him to stay at the house, and the mom's like, no, we can't do that. He has parents. And he overhears this conversation. She's like, we can't, like, they don't know his family life. Like, what if his family's like going crazy looking for him right now, and we're just keeping him here overnight, not calling anybody? I get it, but look at his face. He was clearly beaten.
Right, but there was like also Patty just stepped in it with Amber like not too long prior to this, so she's like probably a little gun shy on assuming like what's going on with these kids just from the surface. So like a part of me would think that Patty was probably like, maybe we shouldn't just immediately go to the worst case scenario because it did not work out the last time that we did, but like. that's a thing too. Is like you almost. It's kind of like that thing that happens when people are walking down the street and somebody's getting hurt, and sometimes they just walk right by because they don't want to be involved. It was giving that vibe too, in a way that like I don't want to be involved with this. I don't know what's going on. I want to get into messiness,
Right.
and that felt like
So when
because
he runs
they're
out, I guess was Jordan like coming to Angela's because they hang out all the time. Because
no, I think they kind of ran into each other at like a store. I think he was trying to panhandle or something.
Oh, he
at
was.
one
That's what he
point,
was doing. He was panhandling.
Yeah.
so then
Mhm.
Greg was like, "Here we go. Jordan's gonna be the hero in this situation." And I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
He like brought him to, I guess, where he knows like
His safe place, what he thought was a safe place.
Yes.
which is
Yeah.
an abandoned
A
warehouse.
place where he could stay.
Yeah.
That didn't cost any money, but it wasn't safe, really.
No.
To
Well,
be fair,
that's why I said what he thought was a safe
a place.
and so
Yeah.
they're in the car because I do want to give a moment to this on how Jordan does open up for a second and reads the room where Angela can't read the room, and this boy read the room and was like,
My dad used to kick me around.
my dad used to kick me around too.
And he's like, used to? He's like, he hasn't in a couple of years because I threw a chair at him the last time.
So so I
Eventually,
guess,
big.
yeah, I guess we can take that as maybe a confirmation that it's family abuse, that his dad is hitting him or something.
Yeah.
There is something that I want to highlight a little bit, like now and later. So Jordan tells Angela where he took him, and he brings her there to go find him the next night. And they walk into this abandoned warehouse, and Angela starts looking around, and Jordan just starts talking to people. I'm like, he just knows people that hang out at this like these homeless people. Or Jordan's not that social. He doesn't just talk to strangers.
Well, I think it kind of goes to show how often he may have been there.
Right.
Like, this
Correct.
must have been like a place where he has gone many, many times to the point where he's knows who's like a residents that are there, like the people who probably live there full time.
Right. So I didn't think that too deeply about it in that moment. I was just like, is Jordan seriously just like talking like he knows these people? So I didn't even think too much about that when it happened. But we'll put a pin in that till later. So Angela then sees, she hears Angel singing, and she goes up the stairs. Well, we don't know her name's Angel. We'll say the girl, but she's credited as Angel. And kind of points her to where Ricky is. And Ricky is so upset that she's there, and how could you like do this? Like, he's embarrassed. And Angela just wants to help him, and he's like, I don't want to sponge over your family. And he like makes her leave. So then right before Angela leaves, she sees the girls asleep. She sees her shoes with the holes in it. Angela takes her shoes off and gives her her shoes.
Classic 1994.
Very giving.
Very Christmas episode.
So then she tells her parents. No, she doesn't tell her parents. Brian comes over and she tells Brian everything, because Brian's like, what's going on with him? Because he saw the bruises. He's like, is he okay? Like, what's happening?
Well, him and Brian are kind of buddies. I think they're more friends than we give them credit for. You catch them together all the time.
Yeah.
And I think they're buddies. So Brian's probably like actually wants to know what's going on with his friend. He's like, that's my friend. Like, what's happening to him? I want to know.
Right.
Yeah.
And Angela's parents here, and they go to the police station to help.
Yeah, this is a lot bigger than
or is it CPS maybe? Because that was what I was thinking initially, that maybe it was CPS.
Like, they're basically going to get these kids either arrested, kicked out because they're trespassing, something. Like, I just was like, this is not going to go the way that Patricia wants it to go, because she has good.
Oh, cap, right? No cops are good cops.
Did you catch? There was a cute line, because she was like, the old cop that they like reported this to. She was like, "Did you see this guy?" And Grandma's like, "Yeah, he's adorable." I was like, "What? He's adorable?"
That's what we need, And the way you described the difference between like a runaway or a throwaway, that's so upsetting. Like, oh my God.
So
That
then
was rough to hear.
she kind of clocks, the missing kids on the flyers, and she focuses in on one that looks like the girl that we've been seeing, the musician girl,
Mm-hmm.
the shoes.
Yeah.
So once Angela finds out that her parents did this, she freaks out. She's mad that they eavesdropped on her conversation because it's about her at this point. And she runs to the warehouse, I guess, to go find Ricky, and it's completely empty except for cops, and they tell her, don't worry, we're going to get you out of here. So we don't know if she's getting arrested or we find
Arrested.
We find out later they took her to a church where the other homeless people are.
Yeah. A shelter.
So the cops did the right thing.
Yeah. So the mom, in a roundabout way, got it what she wanted because everybody came to church.
Yeah.
But I loved it. I liked it, like when she found Ricky and he was lighting the candles, and then he turned around and saw her, how he was like, he just kind of like fell into her arms and she just like kind of hugged him. I thought that was sweet. I liked it. I like it.
I like it.
And then Angela came upstairs, I guess, because she was in the basement.
Yes.
And saw them, and she hugs Ricky, and then she hugs her mom. But before the mom entered the church, she saw the girl,
the angel,
and she said,
or angel,
"Oh, my daughter has those same shoes or whatever." And she said, did she say Angela gave them to her? And then she's like, did she say, is there something else you want to ask me? And when she says, when did you die? I was like, here we fucking go.
How did you die?
How did you die?
How did you die?
Like, we almost made it.
Yeah. It was, well, like the whole conversation kind of led up to the fact that they were comparing the two because they were like the same age, they have the same shoe size, like how easily they could both be switching spots. That was that simple. Angela could easily be in the same situation where she could die in exposure, I guess,
And it was really to shed light on the families that were at home and watching these TV shows. That was the whole purpose of this episode. It was about making the families understand, the moms and dads understand that, what was it that the fight what did she say?
The mom said that it was different than other fights because it felt like, how did they word it, that the fight was running them
kind of deal. And so like that was kind of like the big deal of the time. So kids were running away, and 90% of the times the kids would run away, they would just find their way home. But there was a percentage of kids that were missing after running away.
Yeah. Well, we now know in 2024 all the sickos out there, and there's probably reasons for that, but it's sad, very sad when you really think about it.
Well, it's like also the moral is like to be grateful for what you do have in your life. That's always really what it comes down to. It's just that like things can change in an instant. There's really no difference between us and someone who's living on the street. There really isn't. You're one bad medical event or tragedy or trauma from
that was right. That was 90. That was in the 90s, and we're still here.
One comical moment, Brian called the helpline to talk about the fact that he felt lonely and he was crying, and Rayanne picked up, and she turned it into like a sexual phone call to cheer him up. And he's like, I think I called the wrong number. She's like, no, you called the right number. And then Sharon at her, and she's like, he's not crying anymore.
Right. That she even says it to him. She's just like, you're not feeling like you're gonna cry anymore, are you? And he just kind of went. He even makes a joke. He even makes it like an orgasm joke. It was so funny. He's like, I gotta get off, and it's like, hey, you do.
He kept reiterating, I'm at my neighbor's house. Like, if I wasn't, it would be on right now.
Honestly, like, but him opening up was so sweet and kind, and like I just felt like I was hoping Rhiannon would they would have like a nice sweet moment because they've had like closer moments. Like she even made a joke. I think she said, "Oh, Brian, I slept with him."
Yes, she said
And
to
it's like
Sharon, she was like,
we've
"I slept with
actually
him," and I said to him, "I was like, she did in the Halloween episode. They fell asleep."
she did.
And
She
they
slept
slept over
with him. And also Angela saw ghosts in that episode too.
Yeah.
So a part of me kind of wonders if they put that episode in there because they knew they were going to be doing this for the Christmas episode, and they were like, "We need to kind of set the stage that Angela can see ghosts."
We'll connect the supernatural episodes. This is the alternate version of my soul called.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Funny.
they leave the church. There's like a whole like Christmas montage. Ricky leaves with them, and my question now is: does Ricky now live with them?
No, that didn't happen back in the day.
Oh,
He
No,
stayed
probably
overnight.
just before he goes to his cousins.
Yeah.
oh, right.
Instead of yeah.
Right. And then during that music montage, we see Jordan, and it looked like he was in the warehouse lighting a candle. And then I went, huh, that's why he knew the people there, because now my question is Jordan homeless?
No, I think he probably fought with his father just enough that he was one of the runaways that returned home.
Yeah.
I think he was one of the runaways that turned home. And he was lighting the candle because he was making fun of Ricky about lighting the candle. Don't waste that. And then he kind of like took it back in the Christmas spirit. So he then at the end lit a candle to say a prayer. Whoever the prayer was for, maybe it was for him, maybe he's, the savior of all of these people.
Right.
No, I just think he was there. Like just kind of how he said, he's like, "Oh, this is a place I would go."
Yeah.
When my dad used to beat up on me and I couldn't be in the same house as him, basically. Or if his dad would throw him out. Like that's the thing. Like a part of this is also maybe not just running away from a bad situation, but also could be their parents literally throwing them out of the house, and then they need to like find somewhere to stay.
Correct.
Yeah. So I think that like that's probably how he knows, the people there, the ritual, the whole 9 yards,
So the final scene of the episode is that girl watching them walk away, and then it goes away. The camera pans away from her face, but then in the corner of the camera we see white feathers, and I went, "Oh!" And then the episode ended.
It was a Christmas episode.
And he's like, "Now I hate this show more than I've ever hated it before."
No, I actually do like Christmas episodes. So good for them.
You found a loophole.
Yeah.
Found a loophole. Christmas only.
I did enjoy the episodes though. The Halloween one, I enjoyed the part that wasn't Angela, because Angela was weird with her whole like segmented seeing ghosts and talking to them, sometimes touching them. I feel like it was weird.
Yeah, I really don't think these were two great episodes. I love them.
Yeah, these were probably what made the show what it is. They're probably like, oh my god, they're legitimately like the Rayanne episode where she almost dies, like the sobriety plus, dealing with family abuse, potential family abuse. Again, like they're all like kind of talking around it. They never like directly like it's not like you ever hear Ricky going off about how his dad beats on him. He has done everything in his power to not say that. And everyone around him has done everything to not, except for Jordan. Jordan's kind of like, because he doesn't know any better. He's just like, yeah, this is what it is. And that's like your only true real indication, like what could potentially be the real cause of it. But nobody ever says it like really out loud. Like, so it's kind of crazy. Same thing with Rhiannon's sobriety. Like she keeps saying she's sober. Nobody else seems to really believe her. And she's also slowly fallen into that pit hole because she believes that no one believes her. Like no one has she doesn't think anybody has faith in her. And then she's surrounded by people who are toxic in her life, but without directly saying, oh, Rhiannon's an alcoholic and she needs therapy, and stuff like that. They kind of talk all the way around it.
So we have 4 episodes left, and there's certain things I want to see touched on a few more times before we're done. I want to know more
Mhm.
about Jordan because all we know about him is that he is dyslexic. We don't really
Mhm.
know much. We now know that he used to get abused,
Abused.
but like I want to like
Yeah.
see his family life or his home life. Like I want to like go deeper because he doesn't say
Mhm.
much, although he is talking more now. But like he doesn't really say much,
Yeah.
and he always looks like he's deep in thought. um,
Yeah.
I want to see Rayanne's alcoholism touched on like one more time, and I kind of want. I don't think we're done with Ricky because like with Rayanne's alcoholism, we've been like threading that all season, and she's had a couple of episodes. I want to deal with Ricky's maybe sexuality. We haven't really talked about that. We visually have seen that he's different, but we haven't
Yeah.
really gone into it with like, is that why he's being abused? Like I just need one more episode with Ricky before it's all over.
Yeah. I feel like we have gotten a little like breadcrumbs about Ricky probably throughout the whole season too.
Mhm.
Without like again, like literally pinning it down and saying like he's gay. Or like, they say he's bisexual, but like who isn't bisexual in high school? I mean, like come on.
Well,
But like it's just
keep in mind this was ABC, the same channel that aired
yeah,
Dynasty, and you know what happened to Steven.
right.
So
Yeah, exactly.
he's
So
gay, he's
like
not
they
gay.
don't treat
Make him marry a
necessarily
woman.
they don't yeah, they don't treat it very much. And it's like, but they are also again doing that whole dance where they're like representing him, right, and his glory as he is on screen, right,
Mhm.
without like literally writing in the dialogue, "I am gay,"
Yeah.
or whatever, other than like what other people may assume about him. And it's kind of like I don't know if we'll get that necessarily, but it would be great to know like how he survives through this situation. Same thing with Rianne. Like, does she continue with sobriety or does she slowly start to descend back into alcoholism? I agree with you on that. I really would like to see Angela turn a leaf or a corner or something where she starts to realize how incredibly like inward facing she is. I want realization. And I really wish Brian will literally tell her what's up because, like, he keeps like
Mhm.
trying that nothing seems to land. I think Angel deserves a full blown like
Yeah.
confrontation for him
Right.
because I think she treats him worse out of everyone. Really.
Um, I think we're probably going to see more of Graham, maybe possibly working at that restaurant with that woman.
Mm, oh
Because
yeah.
I think Greg mentioned she's in quite a few episodes, and we've only seen her in 2 so far. I
Mhm.
just hope that we don't end this with a question mark over Patty and Graham's relationship.
Right now, the relationship seems rather strong.
Yeah. Agreed.
We didn't start off that
Agreed.
way. He had a little young thing
Yeah,
in the
I
beginning.
have a very funny feeling. I think that's stuck in our head, and I think the writers went in a totally different direction. And
I'll never forget.
mm,
They thought we wouldn't remember.
All
They
at
didn't
one time in the
anticipate digital media.
street, one time you talk to somebody in that street. That's it. It takes. Yeah.
yeah.
Angela saw me, and so did I.
Oh man, I hear you on that one. I mean, like I want to see like to me. I feel like if it's kind of like the whole idea. It's like if you're gonna show us the gun, you better use it. Eventually down the line, it's like you're showing us something, and if you're just gonna leave it hanging there, it's like what was the point?
Right.
But it
Like,
wasn't it part of the pilot really? Like so that could
it was part
be
of
a
the pilot,
thing.
and then I think maybe the second episode he made the phone call where he's like, "We gotta
It's
end
over.
this," and Angela
Right,
heard that
right.
phone call.
So I mean, it could have been a plot device to get the pilot picked up, and then they wrapped it up right away because they're like, "We really don't wanna play this is so played out, like, why do this? We did this as a hook to get the
Maybe,
networks to pick us up, and we're good with
yeah,
it," maybe.
maybe they were like,
I could see
everybody else is a mess. We need to have like one stable
Right.
family that everybody
that.
goes to.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm not gonna lie, I love Graham and Patty. I really do feel like they could literally be the pillar that all these kids kind of rotate around because apparently Brian's parents could care less about their son. And then also, Rayanne needs like stability. So does Ricky, and then Angela needs to be like taught that her life is very good because she doesn't think so.
Right.
That's kind of what I want. Is I need her to have a realization by the season's end that how she really good she actually has it, like that she has no understanding.
Yeah,
of what
I
the
was
real
really
world's like.
hoping that this episode would have make it very clear to her. I know. I just wanted to do a PSA so that if you know any missing children, to contact the Missing Center of Exploited Children at missingkids.com or 1-800-THE-LOST. That's 1-800-843-5678. That was, so if you know anybody that needs help.
That was good thinking.
Good thinking.
For sure.
I guess that's all I have and my predictions for the next 4 episodes. What about you guys? Anything else before we wrap it up?
I think it's going to we're not going to be happy.
Okay. I don't think so.
No, it was canceled, so there's clearly not going to be closure.
We're not going to be happy, and from what I'm really understanding is our love for it has not become nostalgia for the actors yet. It's too soon. It's still too soon.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Jared Leto can suck it.
Wait, say it again.
I don't want him back on
my
screen.
Yeah. I think this is not nostalgia yet for them, and it's nostalgia for us.
It's 30 years this year.
We're not
September
there.
Will be 30 years.
They were like
that it came out
15, 14, 16 at the time. They were going through their own awkwardness, and they probably think that that's like the worst acting that they've ever done in their life, and they don't want to see it. And here we are putting it on a pedestal because that's where it deserves to be.
Nothing ever dies. And the internet's forever.
I've never really had strong feelings for or against Claire Danes. I thought she's a perfectly good actress. So I didn't go into this being like, oh my god, I like this big stars in it. Like I knew Jared Leto was in it, but I don't really have big love for him either. So it wasn't like I was like, I need to see it because this person's in it. I actually genuinely like the show, and I think as an ensemble they all really do well together.
It's a shame. It's a shame that they never made it to a second season, because to want to know like how this, I'm kind of curious to know, like, would it have stood the test of time? Would it have been like a first season flop kind of situation where it's like, oh, it was good, and then subsequent seasons just it never lived up to the precedents that it set. You know what I mean? So I wonder if that could have happened, because it happens sometimes. Sometimes the first season could be too good, and you can't really follow up on it.
So it had 19 episodes, and it literally, because I was looking up like when the last few aired, and they aired in January, so they must have like had no breaks. They probably had new episode after new episode, which is pretty cool. But and unheard of, because at that point I think seasons were starting to become just 22 episode seasons. So they aired 19 up until January from September
for a first season. So like obviously networks liked what they saw coming in. Otherwise they wouldn't have done that. But
all right, well we have a few more, and we're also going to talk about a podcast that Greg found with the creator explaining what would have happened and where they are now, I guess.
Yeah.
I'll be
I haven't listened to it yet.
Yeah.
But anything
I'm
else?
going to be really happy. I'd be like, what happened to him? I need to know.
Right. Anything else before we wrap it up?
That's it. This was great.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us for another edition of My So Called Life. As always, you can find us on all the socials at Queers and Soaps. And until next time, have a great night. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.